right, everybody, I'm going to hand this off to you, Jordan. I believe we are live right now. Just ran down from the 4th floor where a verdict came down this afternoon about 10 minutes ago. 210, Chad Daybell found guilty. Chad Daybell found guilty on all charges. Conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy Daybell, conspiracy to commit the murder of Tylee Ryan, conspiracy to commit the murder of J.J. Vallow, the murders of J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell, and 2 counts of insurance fraud, guilt across the board. This jury deliberated for about 6 hours. They started yesterday afternoon, and the verdict came down, well, before 2 o'clock. We got word around 1:15-ish that a verdict had been reached. We were given the notice that we needed to be ready for that verdict, and it was read at 2 o'clock. The courtroom was packed. I can tell you lots of tears, lots of sniffles as this verdict was read. We walked out in the hallway afterward, and law enforcement officers were crying. They were hugging Larry and Kay Woodcock. Samantha, or Tammy Daybell's father, hugged Larry Woodcock as the two of them cried together. A lot of emotion in that courtroom. This, of course, has been nearly a 5-year ordeal, and these families have waited for this day. Chad Daybell showed little emotion. And what happens from here is, in less than an hour, we'll be back in the courtroom, and the penalty phase of this trial will continue. What does that mean? It means that Tammy Daybell's siblings and her dad have prepared statements that will be read from the stand. They will get to read victim impact statements that basically share how they feel and how this has affected them. Chad Daybell's children could also read those statements.
That's not till today now, guys.
In the courtroom today. They were not here. No word if they are coming. And then, because this is the penalty phase, the jury will then go back and deliberate if Chad Daybell should get the death penalty or life in prison. It's unclear how long that process will happen. I mean, who knows? It could be later today if all the victims go. It could go into tomorrow. It could go through the weekend. But the big news today, if you're just tuning in, Chad Daybell found guilty of murdering J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, his wife Tammy Daybell in her bed. He's found guilty of conspiracy to commit the murders of J.J., of Tylee, of Tammy, and he's found guilty of 2 counts of insurance fraud. Now, I don't expect that we'll see people coming down here just yet. After Lori Vallow's verdict last year, Larry and Kay Woodcock came down and addressed the press. I believe that they're going to stay up there until the penalty phase of the verdict happens. And I don't know how long that will last. I have to give you a little behind-the-scenes look at how this verdict, at least how we found out about it. Earlier this morning, the jury had a question, and the court reconvened. The jury was called in, the judge was called in, everybody gathered in the courtroom, and there was part of an instruction that was not included. And the jury had a question about what that particular part of the instruction needed to be. So the judge added a 40-second instruction to the packet. They then went back and deliberated. Around 1 o'clock, we were sitting in the courtroom. There was a bailiff in there. There was some court staff. Another bailiff opened the back door, back where near the judge's chambers are, and he said to the other guy, "Hey, come here, now." And immediately we knew something's going on. This bailiff then left the courtroom. About 5 or 10 minutes later, Kay Woodcock was in the courtroom with us. She yelled, "We have a verdict." And several people in the courtroom cheered, and the bailiff said, "You can't do that, no cheering." And then I started to get multiple texts from people saying the verdict's in, the verdict's in. The courtroom started to fill up with law enforcement officers from Fremont County, the FBI, the Rexburg Police Department, the Attorney General's office, agencies from all across the state. They're represented in that courtroom. They have worked hard for this day, and they have got the verdict that they were hoping for, that the state has been working for. And, of course, Chad Daybell's defense attorney argued that he had nothing to do with this, but the jury thought otherwise. So, again, we're about to start that penalty phase. We will carry that for you live. The judge said that's going to start around 3:15 Mountain Time. It's 2:25 now, so we have about 50 minutes for that to happen. I can give you a look, Jordan. Why don't we pan if we need to? There are people gathered here outside the courthouse. Just kind of pan around. You can see cameras from news stations locally and national news networks. And then behind Jordan, I don't know if you can swing all the way around to a 360, there are people who are out here just at the courthouse. They wanted to come by, they wanted to see what was happening, and they are gathered here on the courthouse steps to see what this verdict is. This trial has been over 8 weeks long. If you include jury selection, it was 9 weeks. Jury selection started
And I've watched
1st,
every minute of it.
and then witnesses started the following week with opening statements and witnesses and evidence. And then just yesterday, closing arguments. The prosecution took about 2 hours. The defense took about an hour and a half. And then the prosecution went back for a rebuttal closing that was nearly an hour too. And the jury began deliberating around 4 o'clock yesterday. They wrapped things up around 6. They are in sequestration. They cannot go home. So they went to their hotel, which is somewhere in the county, where they spent the night. They were back early this morning, 8 o'clock. And, hey, Janice, can I interview you? Okay. There's somebody that's been here every day from Rexburg that I thought I might get her thoughts.
This guy has worked tirelessly for 5 years. Nate Eaton is called, and he works for East Idaho News, and he's worked tirelessly for 5 years. I watched this lad chase them down in Hawaii where they got married on the beach. I watched this lad chase them down and ask them over and over, where are the kids? Where are the kids? The kids, meanwhile, her kids, Tyler 16 and JJ 7, were murdered and buried on his property in his backyard. Heinous crimes committed by heinous people. And now there's going to be justice for these 2 kids and their families. Thanks, Nate, for all your hard work. What you've done this last 5 years has been amazing. Now let's get Arizona and Charles's court case underway